light rail trains are barely moving, and RTD is in no hurry to tell the public why.
I'm trying to head on the Ridgegate, and it's taking forever.
The head of the Colorado GOP says it's civil war in his party. Opponents say they have the signatures to force a vote on his future. A candidate for Congress says Lauren Boebert has embarrassed Colorado, and not for the reason most people would probably guess. And Colorado looks to translate the obvious, racism exists, into policy change. What can the government do about that? That's tonight on Next. This time of day, traffic tends to be crawling on I-25 through the tech center with the light rail cars flying by on the side. But you know what? They're crawling too. RTD has slowed light rail to 10 miles per hour in certain areas for track repairs. That slow certainly sounds serious. Yet it wasn't easy for our Marshall Zellinger to get a straight answer from RTD about what's happening.
When the light rail trains are scheduled one each hour, you can catch up on sleep, listen to music, and twiddle your toes. When the light rail trains are scheduled one each hour and have to slow down to 10 miles an hour because of track repairs, there's not much you can do about that.
I'm trying to head on the Ridgegate, and it's taking forever.
You meet interesting people on the light rail at lunchtime, like the guy who says he goes by Lunchbox. He told us his 25 to 30-minute trip to the end of the line at Ridgegate is at least twice as long.
I'll just deal with it as long as I got to, you know what I mean?
What he and other riders are dealing with are inspections of light rail track and infrastructure. You can see workers on the track in the slow zones, like here near the University of Denver. It took several requests for information, but RTD admitted the 10-mile-per-hour speed restriction followed last month's inspections, which identified several issues. Replacing clips, which hold the rail in place, repairing ballast, the crushed stone around the track, and leveling the track. We asked for more specifics about those three issues, and we're still waiting for an answer. These inspections on I-25's portion of light rail are part of a corrective action plan that state regulators approved last year after RTD reported below standard rail conditions downtown at 19th and Stout. In one photo, RTD showed a 19th and Stout clip that was severely corroded and missing, which would increase the probability of derailment. So what did RTD mean today when it said this work off I-25 identified the need to replace clips? That's why we're asking for more specifics. A spokesperson did say if at any time the track was not safe for operations, light rail services would immediately cease. I want to give a quick nod to Nathaniel Miner at Colorado Public Radio for his extensive reporting on this issue and the downtown light rail repairs. This is all at a time when RTD dodged more oversight, when state lawmakers failed in their effort to change how RTD was governed, which is currently 15 voter-elected board members. I did a quick search of last month's board agenda. This does not, it didn't come up in the board packet that those 15 members were given.
Why do you think they're keeping this a secret? Eventually we're going to know, right?
Yes, I will say, the Public Utilities Commission, the state regulators, only get involved when either RTD self-reports like they did at 19th and Stout, or if there's an accident. So we wouldn't get it that way, but at some point they're gonna have to go in front of the board and say what's going on, or you get enough outcry. When they said we're replacing clips and repairing ballast, it's like I should know what that means. No, of course I'm gonna ask more questions, and clips that hold the rail in place deserves more answer.
Sure. If they want people to trust getting on the trains, a little bit of transparency wouldn't hurt. Marshall, thank you. Weeks out from a critical primary day at the end of June, the Colorado Republican Party is going into full meltdown mode over its chairman's anti-gay bigotry. Critics of GOP Chair Dave Williams say they now have enough signatures to force a vote on his removal. Williams calls it a civil war in his party, and he's welcoming the fight. He's been criticized for using party resources to boost his own bid for Congress and attack his Republican rival. But it was his Pride Month statements, calling members of the LGBTQ community godless groomers, calling for the burning of all pride flags. That seems to be the thing that has pushed other Republicans over the edge. Critics say they'll turn in the signatures tomorrow to force a party referendum on Williams. He's calling everyone who signed it a so-called Republican and doubling down on his message, emailing voters again today saying, God hates pride. The state Republican Party, of course, dropped neutrality rules so that it could endorse Williams' allies in several key races. And over the weekend, surprise, surprise, endorsed Williams himself in his contested GOP primary to represent Colorado Springs in Congress. Our next conversation tonight is with State Rep Mike Lynch from Wellington. He is one of 6 Republicans, including Congresswoman Lauren Boebert, who's running in the GOP primary for the 4th Congressional District. Lynch is hoping that Republican primary voters in Dougco, Loveland, and the Plains will see his track record of working across the aisle as a qualification, not a liability. Lynch has joined the calls for GOP State Chair Dave Williams to resign. He describes Williams and Boebert as what's wrong with politics today.
There's not time for the tweets and all of the crazy stuff that has unfortunately become a part of this, and I just have not participated in that. If I'm going to spend my time not making money in my business, I'm going to spend time getting stuff done. So what does that look like? Well, that looks like I have to talk to the other side. That looks like I have to actually come to the table with people that ideologically I don't agree with and find that common bond.
Do you think the Congresswoman has embarrassed Colorado?
I would say more from her lack of getting stuff done than her personal actions, yes. Personal life is personal life, and I don't want to attack her on that. But the fact she's done nothing for my state, that offends me a lot more.
Now, Lynch has his own challenge in terms of an embarrassing incident. He resigned as Republican House Minority Leader this year after news of a drunk driving arrest surfaced. He had not told his Republican colleagues when they were electing him leader. If the Republicans who worked most closely with you lost faith in your ability to lead them, why should voters hire you?
Yeah. So technically, I won the vote of no confidence. I stepped down voluntarily. So now, granted, under pressure from the parts of the party that I don't particularly agree with, right? They saw an opportunity and they took it. None of us are perfect. You go through life and you learn lessons. That was a huge one. I don't know that there's some guidebook of, hey, I legitimately made the biggest screw up I've ever done in my life. I've got a pretty pristine record outside of that.
Lynch says, looking back, he should have, would have disclosed his arrest to the public. When our next conversation with Lynch continues in a moment, we'll talk about his struggle with Donald Trump's idea of a 17 million person deportation. Lynch says it would look like a police state. The coroner down in Prowers County, southeast Colorado, says either county leaders can pay him more or he's going to start leaving bodies lying around. In fact, Prowers County Commissioner Ron Cook said he was surprised to get a call from an EMS crew earlier this month. They said that the county coroner, Tommy Dunnigan, was refusing to respond to the scene of a death because Dunnigan had already worked his 20-hour work week and his deputy was not available. Dunnigan said that if the county commissioners didn't want to come down and deal with the dead body, well, they could just sit there till he was back on the clock. The coroner eventually responded, but only once commissioners agreed to meet and discuss his salary. Dunnigan's been pushing the commissioners to bump him up to full-time pay for months. He argues he deserves it because he's supposed to be on call 24/7. A new state law gave the commissioners the discretion to bump him up to full-time in 2024, but they had rejected that idea. They gave him money for a deputy instead.
But he did tell me that he couldn't go on Saturday because he was out of hours and nobody taking call, and he would have to respond the following day when he's back on call. Right?
Yes. I feel it's appropriate for people to call you guys because this is completely your decision. It's no one else's decision whether I'm full-time or part-time.
Meanwhile, the body's like there. So under state law, commissioners cannot amend the coroner's salary again until 2026. So what's the coroner going to do? Well, he says he wants to sue, but he wants the county to pay for his attorney. A Republican district attorney in central Colorado is currently fighting to keep her law license. She can't lose it because if she does, she can't be the DA. A disciplinary hearing against Linda Stanley over the Barry Morphew murder case started today in a branch of the Colorado Supreme Court. It was 2021. Stanley brought charges against Barry Morphew for killing his missing wife, Suzanne Morphew. But then the DA dropped those charges in the Suzanne Morphew case just days before her husband was supposed to go to trial. Court filings accused the DA of misconduct for talking to a podcast about the Morphew case, for showing up late repeatedly for court, and for launching a secret investigation into the judge into the case because she didn't like his rulings. Stanley could lose her law license permanently. Well, it's been just another week of incredible generosity for Coloradans from Coloradans through your latest Word of Thanks microgiving campaign. We're still tallying up your recurring monthly donations to add onto your weekly one-time gifts, but it is very safe to say that you've raised more than $20,000 for Metro Caring, the hunger-fighting nonprofit in Denver. You have given more than $12 million to nonprofits across Colorado through Word of Thanks. And you know the deal. We'll keep going as long as you're sitting there and I'm sitting here. I welcome your suggestions. Email me next at 9news.com. Would you vote against mass deportation in Congress?
It would look like a police state.
When our next conversation continues, Republican congressional candidate Mike Lynch has real concerns with Donald Trump's mass deportation plan. State legislators know that systemic racism impacts black Coloradans. Now they want the details so they can take action. And our drive to get Coloradans to zipper merge is going national. It's got a new theme song. That's next. Every Republican running to represent the 4th Congressional District, safest GOP seat in Colorado's congressional delegation, everyone supports Donald Trump for president. They all also say that border security and immigration are a top issue. You can watch our recent CO4 Republican debate on the next YouTube channel. We return now to my next conversation with State Rep Mike Lynch, who's wrestling with Donald Trump's idea to round up more than 10 million people here without legal authorization using local police, the National Guard, even the military.
It would look like a police state. Like I would really have to see the nuts and bolts of how that plan is going to be executed. The way it's thrown out there right now is just all this rhetoric about just go to the Greyhound and grab all the buses and start batons and I think we need to do whatever we can to assimilate those folks that can add to our society.
Are you comfortable with the idea of creating a path to legal status or a path to citizenship for people who entered the country illegally?
Absolutely, yep.
For who in that population? Give me some idea.
Well,
we're not writing legislation here, but what does your gut tell you?
We've got a broken system that has allowed these folks to be here and function and contribute to our society at some level, right? So to just massively say, I mean, it's almost like put a timeline on it. Like, how long have you been here? If you've been here 5 minutes, then you know what, things are a little different, turn around. So, but that is what legislating's about, is digging into that issue and figuring out what makes sense. But just walking around and just gathering people up, we are going to, and this is what I said during the debate, we are going to accidentally, I think, grab some people that we want here and get them out of our country.
You can find my full conversation with congressional candidate Mike Lynch on the next YouTube channel. We've invited all the CO4 Republican primary candidates to come in this week. All but Congresswoman Lauren Boebert and Jerry Sonnenberg have agreed. Kathy Sabin's here now with a look ahead.
We have a little bit of a break in the cloud cover out there, Kyle, and most of the heavy thunderstorms have dodged the metro area so far. Not the case north and east. We're still tracking severe thunderstorms, and there will be fewer storms tomorrow. Temperatures in the mid-80s for Denver, low 90s to the north and out across the western slope. Severe thunderstorm watch continues for southeastern Wyoming, and the severe thunderstorm warning for Morgan County out for a cell just south of Fort Morgan along a line that is tracking southeast, moving toward Akron and Holyoke. Been watching the foothill thunderstorms very closely, but they haven't been holding together so far. Potential for heavy rain and hail is still there with storms that do move across the city between now and about 9 o'clock as we are under a marginal risk for severe storms via the Storm Forecast Center. And so we will start to see those storms kind of diminish in capacity and really just in coverage tomorrow with a better chance of rain from storms south of the metro area. But tonight, it's still there, the chance of rain and storms that will linger late into the night from Sterling to North Platte before skies will clear out. We get a sunny day tomorrow and a return to storms after about 3 o'clock with the heavier activity south of Denver tomorrow. Comfortable 70s between now and about 11 o'clock tonight with the clouds moving out. We have 86 tomorrow with widely scattered storms mainly south. Hot and dry Wednesday and Thursday with highs in the 90s. Thunderstorms return Friday, but next weekend looking pretty good.
May I make a recommendation? Someone else's work that I think is worth your time.
He's been on a bit of a zipper merge education campaign this year, and he joins us to talk about it now. Hi, Marshall.
Hi, Aisha. It's going to be a movement. After today, we're going nationwide.
My favorite voice among the many good ones on NPR, Aisha Roscoe, had our Marshall Zellinger on over the weekend talking about how Colorado is going to lead the way around America on getting people to zipper merge. He's on NPR's Weekend Edition, talking about all things zippering, like when to do it and if it really is a more efficient way to merge traffic. They even came up on the fly with a potential theme song for this movement, Two Become One by the Spice Girls. and give that interview a listen. It's good fun. It's linked on the next social media accounts and on our recommendation page on 9news.com.
We still have a lot of systemic issues that we need to dismantle.
A new law is a small step toward chipping away at the systemic racism that impacts Black Coloradans. The sky is blue, the Rockies are bad, racism exists, right? Some things are just facts. But it is a search for detailed evidence behind that last fact, systemic racism in Colorado, that's behind a new state law laying the groundwork for change. Our Janelle Finch has that story.
Life in the Centennial State is not all equal. Legislators want evidence to speak to experience and to lead to change.
What has been the Colorado experience of the African American? And that's what this study will do.
Representative Naquita Ricks is a sponsor on the new law. She hopes to spotlight the historical and ongoing effects of systemic racism to shape future policies.
We thought that it was very important to not look at only the historical context of Blacks in Colorado, but also to look at the economic impact of and the financial impact, what this has caused the Black community and what it could look if we were on par with other members of the community.
Its findings aren't meant to prove racism exists. It already does, and the Black Democratic Legislative Caucus heard proof of that back in February. This legislation is for the groundwork for change for the Black community at the state level.
Whether it's education, whether it's financial, whether it's criminal justice.
Representative Ricks says the law allows the opportunity for balance for a group that faces disparities daily.
We still have a lot of systemic issues that we need to dismantle. And I think that this bill will give us some data points and things that we can really look into and see how we can use this to now create policies that can make sure that everyone in Colorado is thriving and living their version of the American dream.
Representative Ricks says the study is being supported by private funding and not with state dollars. The Collaborative Healing Initiative within Communities, or CHIC, a nonprofit, has been gathering donations since late last year. The study needs $785,000 by the end of June 2025.
That's kind of interesting, Janelle, and that's different, right? That the state says, well, this is important, so we should do it, but go out and collect private donations to make it happen.
Right, and that organization said that they're already at 96% of their goals, so it looks like they're going to reach that well before the deadline.
All right, flesh out this lived experience with some facts, and let's get after this. Janelle Finch, thank you very much. Only one thing left, and you know what that is. Back with your feedback next. Here comes Marilyn with it. Thank you. Feedback tonight from Paula, and we've heard this from a couple of folks. She says, we're curious why you have not included the Democratic candidates in Colorado's 4th Congressional District primary election. Please allow both parties to be represented. So, Paula, the fact is CD4, Dougco, Loveland, Eastern Plains is Colorado's safest Republican seat. So unless lightning strikes, the GOP primary coming up this month will decide who holds that seat. In the same way, if there were a bunch of Republicans running for the safe Democratic seat in Denver, we wouldn't necessarily line all of them up for interviews because they'd be so unlikely to win. Viewer says, I'm confused. I was taught to zipper merge 65 years ago. Why is this a new thing? Oh, it's not like we discovered it. It's not like we're Christopher Columbus. Actually, we are like Christopher Columbus because it existed and we just pretended to find it.